when you experience a hair loss, like, you don't even want to see it. It's like taking away part of your identity that you had for the past 30 years.
When did you first start experiencing hair loss?
I noticed some thinning probably around like 21, 22 years old.
What did you sort of get into when you first started trying new hair loss treatments?
I was on a dosage of minoxidil and dutasteride, and then I was experiencing some hair loss or some shedding or something. I was freaking out. I was like, what's going on?
How's your experience been with Anagen so far? Like the pros, the cons, just the whole experience?
It's been great so far, man. Definitely been better than anything else I've tried, and experienced actually like a lot of good regrowth with that. It's actually insane. It's crazy how much regrowth happens.
If you just had to say like your favorite thing about us, is it just that like we're developing new drugs, like we're actually doing the research?
You guys are on the cutting edge, constantly new discoveries and technology, whatever you guys are using. You're doing it differently than any other company is doing it, in my opinion. But I think...
Welcome to Anagen Breakdowns. This is a new series we're doing where we break down patient experiences, people who have been on Anagen, what their experience has been so far, what their hair loss experience was like before starting Anagen. And so for the first episode here, we have Steven Harrison. Steven is an influencer. We first met on Instagram. He's got a little bit more biohacker in him than I originally realized. So this should be a great conversation. So Steven, I guess great to have you here. And I guess first question would be, how did you find us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't even know how I found you guys, to be completely honest. I'm always doing research on like the latest hair loss treatments, latest biohacking, whatever it is that surrounds like, health primarily. And I think it might have been like a subreddit or something on Twitter. I barely use Twitter, but I think it was something along those lines. And then I just did research and I went down this rabbit hole of like, okay, here's this new startup company that's on the edge of a lot of like the frontier of science. So I'm like, okay, this is really cool. Not a lot of people know about this. Maybe I can message them and just start like a conversation. And it worked. It was great. So ever since then, I've been hooked.
All right. Well, yeah. So I guess just to step back then into sort of your own personal story, it'd be good to go back to the beginning. Kind of when did you first start experiencing hair loss and sort of what was the impact on you?
Well, my dad is he's a great man, but he's fully bald. And so I realized that I had those genetics pretty early on because I noticed some thinning probably around like 21, 22 years old, and I'm 30 now. So it's been a long process of trying to avoid that. So I hopped on like topical Rogaine at first in my mid 20s, and that didn't really do much. And I just said, screw it, whatever. There was really nothing I could take without having some side effects. So I pushed it off for as long as I could. And then I got really serious about it probably 2.5 years ago. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Similar story for me. And so I guess because when you first came to me, I know you sort of mentioned you had tried a bunch of different things. So sort of, but outside of sort of Rogaine, what did you sort of get into when you first started trying new hair loss treatments?
Well, as I dove deeper into the hair loss world, I started finding out a lot of like cutting edge kind of like products in the market that weren't exactly FDA cleared, right? But like they still had a great uh they had great results that I was seeing on like I don't know if you're familiar with what's it called? Trestless on Reddit. Have you heard of
Of
that? It's
course.
it's a subreddit. Yeah,
Yep.
okay, of course, yeah. So I started just going down a rabbit hole. I was listening to this guy, I forget his name, but his YouTube channel was More Plates, More Dates. You've heard of him, Derek.
Derek. Yep.
Derek, that's his name, yeah.
Yep.
So he was talking about RU, and this guy's like he's an expert on everything, but he puts in such like an average, like easy accessible way for like the common guy like me to understand what he's saying. So yeah, I started doing that. I bought this thing called a derminator from like Slovakia, had that shipped to me. And so I did that probably for once a week on my head, like 1.5 millimeter. And then I waited 24 hours, applied the RU afterwards, applied some topical minoxidil. And I started getting really serious about it like a year and a half ago. Yeah. But then just 4 months ago, I was on a dosage of minoxidil and dutasteride, kind of small, and I was doing it every other day. And then I was experiencing some hair loss or some shedding or something. I was freaking out. I was like, what's going on? I was also messing around with some other things too at the time, like trying to up my testosterone levels and things like that. So probably exacerbated whatever kind of like predisposed genetics I had for hair loss. So that got me really scared. And then that's when I found you guys. And then I incorporated that into, I got really back into the routine because it's so tiring having to derminate your hair 1.5 millimeter every week. I mean, you can get burnt out pretty easily, especially if you're like me and you're like doing a bunch of different things in your schedule. So that was tough. But now, ever since having that scare for my hair loss and having it kind of thin, I was like, okay, I'm never gonna lose it. I'm locked in 100%. And so I got your products,
Yeah.
got the Derminator, started doing that, and experienced actually like a lot of good regrowth with that. It's actually insane. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy how much regrowth happened.
Your before and after pictures are some of the craziest I've seen, to be honest. And like we'll put them up on the screen, but
Oh, that was only 2 months. Yeah, that was only 2 months apart too, which is the craziest part.
I do have to like disclaim. I'm like I believe that our products will regrow hair, but like whenever I show people that before and after, I'm like I cannot promise these results. Those your
Right.
results have been like insane.
Yeah, maybe I was a hyper responder, but who knows? As far as I'm concerned, you guys found the cure to hair loss. It's just a little bit you have to put it in a stack, but I believe one day it's going to be a drop and it's going to be like you're good. No need to microneedle anymore. No need to do all this other stuff. Take like I'm on 2.5 milligrams of dutasteride right now from you guys as well, and I know that's on the
Hmm.
higher end, but I'm planning that for 6 months. Then once I reach 6 months, I'm going to drop down to either zero point 0.5 or 1 milligram, but haven't experienced any side effects either, which is fantastic. If anything, I've experienced great effects from it as far as like testosterone goes. I feel like my testosterone's boosted, wake me up with more energy, things like that. Like the testerides has had an amazing effect on me.
Yeah, and is it just the pills that you're on, or were you on some of the topicals as well? Because I know
I was,
think you
yeah.
I think you ordered the entire inventory.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. Yeah. I was like, because you caught me on my way home from St. Croix when we were talking. And that's when I have another
Hmm.
company there that I run for like snorkel tours and stuff. But
Hmm.
that's when I was like super, like, I was freaking out. So I was like, okay, what can I buy? What can I buy? I was like, boom, boom. I was getting like literally everything off your site. And you were gracious enough to let me try everything for the first round too. And I was so excited about that. So
Yeah.
I just tossed things at the wall and I saw what stuck. Topical dutasteride, the precision I think worked really well for me too. The topical
Hmm.
T3 with the finasteride
Yep.
minoxidil combo, I think that was genius
Yep.
as well. The
Yep.
latanoprost was amazing. I think it restored
Hmm.
some of my hair length follicles that were miniaturized. All of it
Hmm.
was just absolutely incredible. And then I ordered that dutasteride oral as well. So whatever DHT I have in me is probably going to be in the negatives for the next year. I would imagine. Yeah, I
Well,
took a
as long as
lot to shut my system down.
so
Yeah.
you said you the when you were really freaking out was after you were snorkeling, because I can relate, because I know that, for example, like my first freak out from my hair loss was probably my freshman year of college, where I was
Yeah.
like taking a shower, and then I got out of the shower and I looked in the mirror, my hair was all wet and I could like completely see all of my scalp, and that was honestly like probably one of the core things that ended up resulting in us like starting this, was just like
Yeah.
how much I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, this, like, I'm 19 years old. I cannot have my hair looking like this already.
Yeah, it's traumatizing. So once in a while I'll do a buzz cut just so I can have my topicals be less interfered with by the hair.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
so I did it right before I left for St. Croix. Then in St. Croix, I noticed there's just like this like horseshoe pattern forming around my head. And I was like, I could see myself be my dad in like 5 years, and it was just freaking me out. I mean, it's traumatizing, dude. Like, no matter who you are, to experience hair loss is kind of like a minor. I don't want to make light of trauma, but it's kind of like it's kind of it leaves a core imprint in your mind, man. It's scary.
Okay, so this is, I totally agree, because so for me, for example, like I think what really freaked me out about my own hair loss so much was like you're young, whatever. It's
Yeah.
like you said, you see yourself as your dad. It's for me, it was like coming face to face with my own mortality, because I'd only ever just like all of my aging was sort of just like I was getting more into my prime, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I've like passed my prime. This is
That's
sort of like
crazy.
I'm on the downslope now. Like I'm losing all this
Yeah.
hair. For me, it was like coming face to face with my own mortality.
Yeah, and at 19 is really young too. And I think that's when I
Yeah.
first started experiencing it, and then it kind of halted for a little bit. But yeah, man, like it just kind of like feels like someone's like forcing. It's just like, hey, nature's taking its course, whatever. But it's like taking away part of your identity that you've had for the past 30 years. So it's like something you don't want an overnight change with. and it's difficult, I applaud the people that can just shave their head and go for a beard. But the thing is, I can't grow a beard. I don't look good with a shaved head. Like and so unfortunately, this is a way I make my income too, right? Like I have to try to look
Yeah.
as good as possible. So it's just one of those things you gotta just try to fix, unfortunately, for some people, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like it's particularly poignant for you, right? Because it's sort of like obviously like you're in front of the camera all the time, so it's,
Right.
I mean that has to like that had to have messed with your head a little bit too, right? Because you're like, okay, well I want to keep making this content, I want to, and like I feel like part of the content, is that I see like a lot of girls in your comments and stuff like that. So part of the content is having a full head of hair.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, man. It's like a lot of my marketability appeal is, I hate to say it, but a lot of it is how I am perceived by, whether it's my male audience or female audience. Like they want to see me have hair, and I do too, right? Because like no one wants to lose their hair that quick. It's just some people look good shaped. I'm not one of those people. Like I said, I'm doing everything I can to keep it. And yeah, but it's fun though. That was like the first part of my journey into like biohacking, right? Because if we can change that,
Mhm.
then we could change probably hair graying. We could probably change,
Yep.
signs of photo aging. We could probably
Yep.
increase, collagen synthesis, besides things with tretinoin. Like it was a cool rabbit hole to just dive into health because I love health anyway. So it was, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
cool
Yeah,
aspect.
and you
Yeah.
referenced the T3. So that was actually the very first study that we had ever run at HairDAO slash Anagen, was actually testing T3 on human scalp skin in dishes. And that was like actually the first observational study we ran like with all of our new treatments. I was one of the first guinea pigs. Actually, my mom was one of the first guinea pigs as well for the topical T3. And
Really?
not yeah, so because for women as well, with like hypothyroidism, for example, like
Yeah.
underactive thyroid
T3, yeah.
glands,
Hmm.
and so she has hypothyroidism, so I'm like, oh, this could actually be a great option for you. But funny enough, and we're still exploring this, but there are potential anti-graying effects as well from T3. And we look at graying biomarkers as well in all of our sort of with all of these drugs we're testing, because it's like, okay, either, hopefully it regrows hair, but then we also look for these sort of anti-graying impacts as well. And so we've had a little bit of a hit with T3. We obviously have to test it more. But just something interesting there.
That's interesting. I wonder how it does that. But yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it's in the nanograms, right? Like it's not even enough to affect you systemically. Even if I were to microneedle and put that on, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's about a thousandth of the dose that people would take
Right.
orally, if they had hypothyroidism. So it's
Right. Right.
without,
Yeah.
yeah, without overstepping. I felt comfortable enough to take it myself, and I felt comfortable enough to give it to my own mom. So
That's cool.
so
Yeah.
there's that. Yeah, so Steve, so I see like in a lot of your Instagram posts, you're wearing a hat. So what's the backstory there? Is that sort of just part of the brand, or is that been, was that sort of related to your hair loss?
No, I wouldn't say I think it's probably not very brand appeal if I wear that, but I just don't want to style my hair anymore. But I will say when I was experiencing hair loss though, back in the day, like 4 months ago, I was wearing a hat a lot more often because and it was probably imperceivable to the common person, but for me, I was like, oh gosh, it's gonna look a little thin if I do that. So it became like an appendage, a hat. Like I was showering with that thing, man, for a little bit. Because when you experience a hair loss, like you don't even want to see it, right? Because it's just like it raises my stress levels, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know what to do. So yeah, I was trying to cover my head as much as possible a little while ago. So
Yeah, no, sometimes even like when I'm like combing my hair in the bathroom, like when it was bad, I would sort of like have the lights dimmed or something like that, just so you couldn't see the
something,
scalp
just
when
like
you're
don't even
combing
look
it.
at it. Like it's you got to work yourself up to look at a thinning hair. Unfortunately, when it's your own, I don't have any problem if it's anyone else's. I'm like, oh, that's fine, rock it. But for me, I'm a lot harsher on myself than I am with others, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And so, okay, so I mean, you've now that I've like your regrowth has been pretty insane. I mean, can you
Yeah,
just like how has it felt sort of in the last couple months now that you've sort of like regained pretty much like full coverage from what I saw?
I guess it leaves me wanting more. To be honest, like I'm just like, okay, if I can achieve this, then what else can I achieve? But it's made me. I'm satisfied. Don't get me wrong. But like, at the same time. there's always things that need improving. But once you find out you can improve this one thing, it's like, it's human nature. It's in our human condition to want to keep going and progress, right? So I just want to keep going. Seeing the results have motivated me so much to see what else you guys are going to be able to do in the near future. Because I mean, as an influencer, you work with a lot of brands, right? But you guys are the only brand that I wouldn't have you pay me to post about because I actually like your product. And there are a lot of products that I like, and brands will pay me for them. But I would gladly die on this hill of like, I really believe you guys are going to be able to cure hair loss. In my opinion, you guys basically already have, but it's like a 10-step routine. But I think one of these days you're going to narrow it down to a one step, and I'm excited for that.
Oh, definitely. So yeah, and have you tried Minx yet? I forget.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on the 5 milligram dose right now. That's been great. No side effects. Usually when I try to take 5 milligrams or even above 2.5 for just like regular minoxidil oral, um, I'll notice like maybe it's my hypochondria kicking in, but I'll notice sometimes I get a palpitation or like definitely a heart rate increase. Nominal but still there, and and I like everything to be perfect with health because that's like the number one rule of biohacking, right? It all works very synergistically. So, you got to keep in mind, like you want to maintain your natural baseline of things. You don't want to alter those too much, unless it's DHT. Then I'm okay with lowering that. But I noticed that I don't really get side effects from and I think it's because you guys made an extended release one, right? So it's like throughout the whole day, instead of just a huge spike in whatever is released in there, it's like a gradual course, which is so much easier on the body too, and probably you know yeah, it does a lot of good for the body in the long term in terms of like aging and things like that, because you don't want huge spikes, you don't want huge oscillation when it comes to health. So
Absolutely. And so yeah, I mean we've tested that we've tested Minx at 5 mil. It's a lipid matrix is how is what modifies the release there. But it's like a normal capsule, and we've tested it obviously in our lab and measured sort of the release curve there. And then we also tested it in myself and my co-founder. We each sort of took one. I took one fasted. He took one actually after eating a meal. And what we found with him was that the release, because the meal essentially keeps the minx in your stomach for a longer period of time, which then allows the prolonged release to take course. And so, yeah, we saw actually the release was still the concentration of minoxidil in the blood was still increasing at 8 hours in the test that he took. So we actually need to run that experiment again to see, is what sort of the concentration is at 12 hours, 24 hours. The idea being that we would sort of have more consistent exposure over a longer period of time, ideally.
sorry, but how was it when you were fasted? What were the results then?
Yeah, so the fasted results actually it didn't release the full concentration because it was releasing in my stomach, but when your stomach's empty, it moves through the stomach into the small intestine faster. And so I think I only got exposure to like 3.5 milligrams of the 5, and the release was just a little bit quicker. So we recommend that everybody takes Minx fed now for sort of
Okay,
the best protocol would be taking it fed.
cool, good to know. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, usually I take it after probably lunch anyways.
Yeah, so obviously, like I mean, you are pretty like deep in the whole biohacking space. I know you were on RU at one point. So were you before taking any of this stuff? Like, how would you classify yourself? Are you sort of more wary of side effects? Are you a little bit more of sort of like I'll try anything and deal with it later, deal with the consequences later? Or what's sort of been your general strategy?
Yeah, definitely the latter. I definitely don't really care too much about side effects, and I'll try almost anything once. So yeah, I wasn't too concerned. I feel like a lot of these side effects are probably partly anxiety and placebo, which a lot of people have, at least
Hmm.
anxiety. So I'm sure they amplify the side effects by a ton. So I didn't care about that because I know how people be. They'd be anxious. So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't really
That's why
care
you
too
fit
much.
in so well on our Discord server because you're like a proper biohacker. um, Yeah, but no, people. I mean, that's my opinion as well. Is like a lot of the a lot of the side effects, particularly with finasteride and dutasteride, because they have this boogeyman sort of like boogeyman status. I do think that a lot of the side effects are psychosomatic. I think I was getting fully psychosomatic side effects at one point too, like years ago. And like lo and behold, I got my anxiety levels down and sort of it was all in my head essentially. So yeah, no, I can sympathize with that as well. And so Stephen, you mentioned that you had used a microneedling pen at one point. Have you ever experimented with other things like red light therapy or
Oh yeah.
any other sort of non-medical devices?
Yeah. Dude, I basically like toss everything at this problem, and I'm seeing what sticks. Even currently, I am. I'm even trying to like improve health markers too, because I know sometimes hair loss can be a sign of some health issues. So, and I think that's what bugs me so much about it. I just want to be as healthy as possible, and usually, if you're healthy as possible, everything else reflects that too, even hair growth. Now sometimes there are outliers, and people will be bald, super healthy, and still bald. But I want to make sure I'm hitting every corner that I can in the health area, which includes hair loss too. But yeah, what have I tried? Yeah, I'm trying LLLT, which is like a low level laser. I bought that off Amazon for like way too much money.
Mhm.
My wife's like, "What are you doing? You're wasting so much money on it." It's not wasting. Just give it a few months. I promise results will come. And if they don't, then she kicks my butt. But yeah, I've been trying that. I don't know if I've noticed anything crazy, but there's yeah, it's like 2 times a week I have to use it, so it's not too inconvenient either.
Yeah. To be fair, honestly, if you're using the laser, the LLT helmets, and you don't get the expensive ones, that'll just be a total waste of time because you do need a certain power density and like a certain wavelength with those red
Exactly.
light
Yeah.
helmets for them to do anything. So like
Right. Right.
like
Right.
you've done a ton of research. So to be
Yeah.
fair, that's like tell your wife, it's like if we want this to work at all, it needs to be one of the expensive ones.
Yeah. I'll try to tell her that. Yeah.
See how that plays.
Yeah. We'll see.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, it's only 2 times a week, and I feel like if you combine any treatment with microneedling, it's just gonna hopefully amplify, the blood flow to that area and affect it even greater, possibly. So, at least from what I've read, like microneedling is like one of the building blocks you need in a hair loss routine.
yeah, yeah. That's what it's like. I would say honestly, like if you wanted to have the strongest hair loss protocol possible, you hit it with like a minoxidil, oral minoxidil or topical minoxidil, dutasteride, and microneedling. You can layer in various add-ons and things like that, but
Yeah.
that's going to do the bulk
I
of
had
the
I had a
regrowth, in
question
my
about
opinion.
minoxidil.
Yep.
Aren't they trying to like combine it with like tretinoin so it's the scalp can actually take it in rather than just some people reject topical minoxidil if it's not combined with a certain product?
Yeah, so there are definitely studies there where tretinoin can increase sort of the efficacy of topical minoxidil, and the absorption a little bit. So the interesting thing between topical minoxidil and oral minoxidil, there's an enzyme SALT 1A1. Minoxidil needs to be converted in the body to minoxidil sulfate, which is the active form. Now, not everybody has a ton of SALT 1A1 in their scalp, which can mean that makes people non-responders to topical minoxidil. In the liver, you have an abundance of the SALT1A1 enzyme, so a much higher percentage of people are just always going to be responders to oral minoxidil versus topical minoxidil.
Right,
Um,
right. That's why I take
for
it
what it's
too.
worth. But yeah, but tretinoin can definitely help, and like other things like our topical minoxidil, for example, has azelaic acid, which can be synergistic in terms of it's like anti-inflammatory effects um, on the scalp, which is like a nice combination with minoxidil, particularly because a lot of the topicals, the excipients that are used can be a little bit, typically they'll have some sort of alcohol base to increase the absorption, but that can be a little bit inflammatory to your skin. So there's a push and pull with a lot of these topicals. And so sometimes the excipients, like the additional non-active drug ingredients, can be really important to um, the effects. And a lot of people have very sensitive scalp skin. So they're sort of taking they're taking like using some topical, and it's so inflammatory for them that they're losing any potential results they would have gotten from the active ingredients.
Mm, interesting.
So Steven, so I mean, you're pretty comfortable kind of like being in the public eye, obviously. So I'm curious, like, do you feel any stigma about sort of being open about your hair loss? Is there, was it like, does it ever feel like awkward or uncomfortable for you? I mean, I know when I first started like making these videos, I wasn't crazy about telling the world about my hair loss, but I'm curious if what your opinion is, and as someone who's sort of used to sharing.
Maybe I just don't understand that there's a stigma around it. I mean, what would the stigma be? Like if it was like I maybe I just am in this new way of thinking now. Maybe I just like I don't really see a stigma around it. It's just a part of life, you know? And yeah, I don't see why there would be anything. Is there still a stigma you think around men talking about hair loss?
So I don't feel it either. Obviously, I'm making like YouTube videos every single week,
Right.
but here's like
Right.
here's like a perfect example is that we were gonna make Anagen merch at one point, and this comment in our Discord server, this comment in my
Yeah.
Discord server always stuck with me, where somebody was like, yeah, I don't wanna wear a hat that says I take hair pills, like so.
Okay.
You're like, damn,
Yeah.
okay, maybe the Anagen merch won't play as well.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Maybe I could see that. Maybe it wouldn't be the first thing I introduce myself with when it comes to, meeting people. But I mean, as you get to know me, as you get to know anyone, I mean, it's an inevitable part of life or imperfections, and you fix those or leave those however you see fit. But I'm obviously trying to mitigate it. So it's just, yeah, I try to be as transparent as possible, I guess. But I could see how someone could not want to start off a conversation with, "Hey, I'm balding, by the way." It's like, yeah, hey, here's this something wrong with me. Is since society sees it as something that's wrong with you, you don't want to start a combo with that. But yeah, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable now, and probably being at the age that I'm at too. I just don't really care as much as what people think about what I want or don't want to do. I'm gonna do what I want regardless, without people's approval. So yeah, yeah, I guess that's part of the reason why I don't care about this, because like I know I want it, therefore I really don't care what anybody else wants, I guess.
Yeah, so Steven, you mentioned earlier a little bit about like you'd had a shedding phase when you first started trying hair loss treatments. So I was curious to just hear a bit more about that because I know that can be probably the scariest part for a lot of people because you're losing hair, then you hop on a hair loss treatment to sort of stop the hair loss. And then weirdly enough, like some sort of paradox, you actually lose hair faster before it gets better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That part's crazy, right? Because it has to push out the old hairs for the new hairs to grow better. That's really scary. And I think when I sent you those before pictures, that was the start of me shedding. And it might have not been as bad before that, but it was still pretty bad. And so when it got bad after it was already bad and it got worse, it was very scary, man, for a little bit. Like your mind goes into this fight or flight and like, oh, is this even working? Oh, should I be on something else? And it's like sometimes you just gotta ride the wave of that and just take it. And if it works, great. If not, that's terrible. But yeah, yeah, it was scary, man. Very scary.
I made this like 45 minute video as like an overview of like my hair loss journey and like what I would recommend to people and like all this stuff. And one of the pictures I used was probably when I was like 4 months on to finasteride, like my first 4 months on finasteride. And I'm like looking down and it was one of the most scarring photos I've ever taken. It was like it was just like
It's
the
crazy.
sort of bowling alleys back to here. I was like, I've been on a hair loss drug for 4 months. Like and I just
Yeah,
kept telling myself like push through, push through. Like at this point you've already made it as bad as it can get. So just keep trying it. And
yeah, it's
it probably
scary.
took about a full year until it stabilized for me.
Really, a year? I hear
Yeah.
of like two to
Yeah.
four months. Like when I was doing research on ChatGPT, I was like, "How long is this going to take? Please let me know so I can get over this panic attack." But you said a year? Really?
So it stopped, the shedding stopped getting worse probably after about 4 months, but it was like it took a full year till I felt like I was like back at baseline, where it was sort of like this is what my hair looked like before I started taking finasteride.
Really?
And
It took you a
yeah,
year
and
to get there.
yeah, it was not a great year, not a great year for your boy. It was
That's crazy.
that was
Because I've heard of like four
yeah,
months, and then did it at least look better than where it was before you started taking the finasteride? Because you said it looked like it before.
I would say, my hair loss was primarily around the hairline. Like I've never really had crown shedding. And just in general, I've found a lot of the oral pills and the topical treatments to just not work as well on the hairline. So I would say at best, I probably got back to baseline. And obviously, I'm 30 now as well. So I was able to maintain for a longer period of time than I probably would be bald by like 24 if I hadn't done anything. Um, and so I was able to maintain for a longer period of time. But yeah, ultimately I had to get the hair transplant because I was able to maintain the hairline, but I wasn't able to get it back to sort of like my like 18-year-old self, for example.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense. It
And
was
so
probably slick bald, huh?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
there were no miniaturized hairs to regrow in that area. So I was like,
That's
okay,
crazy how
uh,
fast the hair on the hairline especially goes. Because I've noticed
yep,
like the crown will go a lot slower over time. It's very
yep,
rare you'll get a crown that's miniaturized enough not to be regrown, especially if you
yep,
start relatively early, like before the age of 30. But before 30, it's easy to get a hairline going back, without it
yep,
growing back,
yep.
which sucks because then you need the hair transplant. But I can't even tell you a hair transplant, man. Like, is that from? It's not from Turkey or?
No, so I'll give him a shout out, but this Dr. Carlos Wesley in New York City, he's like an
Nice.
artist. And so he
Yeah, it
did a
looks
he did a
great.
very good job. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've heard of
I'm curious if
Linkov.
it was before I knew Dr. Bloxham. Before I knew Dr. Bloxham. Otherwise, I'm hoping he would have given me maybe a better deal.
Yeah, are you gonna get it like another? You don't need another one, but do you want to get another one?
So this actually probably my this it's controversial like in the hair loss space, but people will say, a lot of the transplant doctors will say like your transplant lasts forever, and if you're ever thinning, they'll tell you sort of like, oh, well, that was just the non-transplanted hairs from before that were, that are sort of within the transplanted hairs, and that's why you're seeing the hair loss. I'm very skeptical of that. People will say sometimes they take the transplanted hairs, they take them from sort of outside of the donor region by accident, so they'll still miniaturize. I'm kind of the opinion that like even your transplanted hairs do miniaturize over like a 4 or 5 year period. And so I'm probably 5 years in. Like I got this transplant 5 years ago. And I would say I've noticed like it's noticeably thinner than a year after transplant. Like a year after I got the transplant, it was so thick. It was amazing. And I'm still really happy with it. But um, in my opinion, they definitely gradually miniaturize over time. And so I think if you see a lot of people like you'll see them like 5 years after the transplant, they'll go get a touch up or a follow up. And so I'll probably do that at some point, but I'll hold off for as long as possible. My goal is that I can hold off long enough that we just have the cure. And I'm not. My
Right.
thing is I'm telling myself I'm not getting a transplant until we have something that we can sort of say is the cure. And also part of my thing too is I'm self experimenting with so many of our sort of novel compounds that maybe I should wait. But I'm liable to like give myself wild hair loss any day from trying something. So maybe I'll wait until we found the cure
Well,
to
if
waste all
that's
that
all you
money
can
on a
have, that's not
transplant.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, at least your health wouldn't be at risk. Hopefully, that your health won't be at risk by trying all this new
yeah,
stuff. Because like people had some scary.
yeah,
There was one guy that had a really scary story about RU, if you've heard of that, and it's on
yeah.
a forum. His heart basically stopped working. I don't know how true it is, but that kind of made me really afraid from RU. For a long time.
Yeah,
But
I don't go that out there. Like I'll be like, for example, like I was the first person to try minks, for example, and that's just like I'll be safe with that kind of, or like T3, for
yeah,
example, like such a low dose that I was like, okay, people take this orally all the time.
have you
Uh,
not tried RU?
no, I haven't taken RU actually. I've
Oh
never
gosh,
tried
what have
that.
I done? Even you
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
try it. That's crazy. Oh
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I might have actually affected
Well,
something.
well, honestly, my thing was like I got I pretty much my current stack is I take 1 milligram finasteride. I use growth maxi. I've now incorporated minks as well. And with the transplant, I've sort of found a level of stabilization where I'm like, I don't really need to take any more risk. But so I only take risk to the extent that it's our own products and I want to get some like data on it. And so
Right.
before my thing is like we can't sell something unless I feel comfortable taking it, so I might as well
Yeah,
be the first to
yeah.
take it.
The guinea pig. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
It's funny.
Exactly. So yeah. So before I let you go, Steve, do you go? Is it Steven or Steve?
People on the island that I live on right now call me Steve, so that's just what people
Okay.
know. Who know me call me Steve. You can call me Steve now, Andrew. You're good.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
All right. So yeah. So Steve, just real quick before I let you go, I wanted sort of two questions. I wanted just like, how's your experience been with Anagen so far? Like the pros, the
yeah.
cons, just the whole experience. Would be really curious to just hear that.
It's been great so far, man. Definitely been better than anything else I've tried. And I fully believe you guys are going to be the company to solve hair loss within the next couple or so years. Hopefully, I'm not putting too much pressure by saying that, but I think a couple years is almost realistic. Honestly, with how quickly we're progressing with AI and all this stuff, I think you guys will be able to do it because you guys already have it. It's just in a big protocol, and then if you can narrow
Yep.
down that protocol to one thing, I think then that's going to be you guys are going to be the people to do it. But it's so
Yep.
funny because you guys are
Yep.
like the underdog right now in this with Happy Head and Hims and freaking I don't know, just Dr. Linkov, Gary Linkov and like all his stuff, like, and he's a huge social media following. So you guys are
Yep.
the underdog, but in my opinion, you guys are also the most advanced. So if you guys had the same following as these other things had, I think you guys would be there yesterday. So yeah, I love
Yeah.
it, man. Yeah, this stuff has worked really well. No side effects. I'm probably gonna stop taking RU now because now I know Andrew, you don't take it, and that kind of scares me. So I'm gonna stop taking that. And
Yep.
just yeah, I'm gonna keep on dutasteride. I got some more dutasteride from you guys, and I think I'm gonna be on 2.5 milligrams for the next 6 months. Do the topical precision
Hmm.
dutasteride as well with topical
Hmm.
T3 and the
Hmm.
latanoprost. And I think I'm good, man. Until you guys find that cure that can like edit my genes or whatever with CRISPR, you guys will I'm sure we'll do something crazy. But until
Yep.
then, I'm very happy with the results, man. Like happier than I've ever been with
Cool.
anything. So well not with anything,
So
but
so
with hair loss.
yeah, and so if you yeah, not like the like marrying your wife, I'm sure
Yeah, yeah,
is a
that's
top
up there. That's
experience.
top five.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so like if you just had to say, like, would you say that your favorite thing about us is it just that like we're developing new drugs, like we're actually doing the research, or like, if you had to narrow
Uh
it down?
it's that, right? But it's also like, but you guys are on the cutting edge of this, constantly new discoveries and technology, whatever you guys are using. You're doing it differently than any other company is doing it, in my opinion. And you're doing it so well because you have the communication with your base as well through Discord, whatever it might be. There's a lot of intelligent people in there, a lot smarter than me, and they're coming up with some great hypotheses that on how to make these work a lot better. So that's really cool. You guys listen to the people who are smarter than your average Joe, and that makes you guys like the company for everyone, in my opinion. So it's just cool. You guys do it differently, and I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, man. It's super insane. I always try to explain to people that we literally have like 160 IQ people in our Discord server who are just like doing hair loss research all day long, and they're like self-motivated because they're bald themselves, and they're motivated in a way that like most PhDs just aren't, because like most PhDs are after grant funding, and you can't get grant funding for like androgenetic alopecia research because it's not classified as a disease by the NIH. And so I mean, we like I've had the top hair loss researchers like on various podcasts, and they've said, like the research that your anonymous people are doing in your Discord server is essentially above the level of like what a lot of the PhDs in universities are doing. And
They're
ultimately,
obsessed.
like that's why that's like why we created our lab, because we for a while we were going to universities and saying like, hey, do you have any ideas we can fund? And then we realized like the best ideas were in our Discord server, and we just needed to translate them in the lab. And so that's sort of like why we started our lab in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. You're listening to like people who are really obsessed and really smart. Might not have the funding you guys do, but you guys are making sure they do through that Discord, which is awesome. I think that's one of your biggest appeals, honestly. No matter how you scale up, keeping that always there is such a cool thing to have, and it sets you guys apart really nicely in like terms of marketing too, that I really like.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, last question. Would you recommend Anagen to a friend?
Absolutely not. I want it all to myself. Yeah, less for people, more for me. Yeah, no, I have a brother-in-law actually that I'm gonna give him some too. I'm probably gonna get him hooked on it. But other
Perfect.
than that,
Perfect.
no, all to me. I don't want anyone else to know about this company.
Love it, man. Love it.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Steve. Awesome getting
yeah,
to meet
man.
you. We've only DM'd over Instagram before. So
Right,
yeah, it's been a
right.
pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to, and I love getting to know you, man. You're a really cool guy. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Awesome. I will see you at the next Miami F1 event.
Sounds good.
All right.